Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End for Evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Mothman Cometh. So, as of this getting posted, I will be down near West Virginia. Specifically, I will be going to check out Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the Mothman is. So I figured we should do a recording of a story that entails the Mothman, because I'm a bit of a aficionado on the Mothman. Like I grew up looking up cryptids and such, and so like Bigfoot, Nessie, Ogopogo, like all those kind of things, and the Mothman specifically.
Ogopogo?
Yeah, Ogopogo from Lake Okanagan in British Columbia.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Just like immediately throw like an info dump. Yeah, I decided while I'm down there checking out Mothman's ass, and more important, I guess, more superfluously, like the museum and the Mothman pizza and stuff, in Point Pleasant, we should have an episode has a Mothman creepypasta. So Mothman Cometh is by Wafflepal on creepypasta.wiki. And so you can check it out there. And we'll even go in and give you our initial afterthoughts on this, or like recommendations. I'm going to give this a partial recommendation, but on like the lower end, teetering on not recommending it at all. Mikey.
I'm going to not recommend this.
Okay.
Very succinct and to the point.
Mm-hmm. Gamer.
No.
That's even more succinct.
I like to think so.
All right. So with that, we'll dive into the more thorough information that we have here and our notes and such and the rundown. So Michael and his friends, Ashley, Ben, Zach, Kaylee, and Joshua, have a cryptid club at their high school in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They eventually catch wind of a local cryptid, the Mothman, and decide as a group to research the sightings and eventually convince the school to give them a field trip to the old abandoned ordnance factory near town where it is said to dwell. Once there, they split up into teams, and in the dark and rusting corridors, Michael and Kaylee have a deadly encounter with the creature. Meanwhile, the rest of the teams eventually convene back at the bus, and just as they're wondering where Michael and Kaylee are, the Mothman screeches while flying overhead, and there's blood dripping from its talons and dripping down on the remaining kids below. It goes off and is never seen again. Where? Don't think about it. The end. So, fairly succinct.
Pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah. So, I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions! At this point, I've got a fair amount. Not nearly as long as the story, but pretty close. I'm going to start with this one here. Using all the group's funds, they convinced the principal to give them a field trip to the West Virginia Ordnance Works. To the West Virginia Ordnance Works, an abandoned World War II TNT factory. So, first off here, it's ordnance, not ordance.
Oh.
Yeah, like they're not going to a dance like a dancing club, they're going to the Ordnance Works, which is like an abandoned munitions factory. So ordnance is ORDNANCE, but in the story it's OR dance. So like or dance. And the next thing I have here, the bus driver drove 7 miles away from Point Pleasant and told them to come back if anything went wrong and to stay together. So this one's a little bit harder to find if you're just like with me just saying it, but it's Point Pleasant specifically should be all capitalized, like the two P's should be capitalized because it's a place, like it's the name of a town.
It's capitalized at the start.
Yeah, it says point, like point's capitalized, But then pleasant is just pleasant, like no capitalization whatsoever.
Well, no, I mean, like, the very first time Point Pleasant is mentioned in the very first paragraph, both are capitalized, but the second instance of it is not.
Yes. And then my next one here. The 6 kids jumped off the bus and slowly walked towards the first building of the Ordance Works. Everybody cut loose, foot loose, put on your Sunday shoes.
Nice.
That is about the extent of my knowledge of that song, of like remembering it from when my sisters like would constantly watch it in the summer.
It's more than me.
Ironically enough, I hated that movie when I was a kid. Probably
Why is that
because my
ironic?
sister. Well, because like now I'm sure I wouldn't mind it as much, but like as a kid, I think I hated it because my sisters watched it incessantly.
Yeah.
Probably the reason why they hate Blade is because I watched the trilogy like incessantly during the summers.
Sounds about right.
But moving on, yeah, it's just ordnance is spelled wrong again. Then my next one here. Ashley glanced out the window and saw what looked like a raven or crow caw and then fly away. So I got a bit caught up on this one, so I decided to tweak the sentence a little bit to read
Yeah,
like
me
this. Cool. Ashley glanced out the window and was startled as she saw what looked like a cawing raven or crow. The bird flew off shortly after. And yeah, the reason why I got kind of caught up while reading the story was because I kept thinking of like, why are you seeing the cawing of a raven or a crow?
You can't see sound.
Yeah, you can't see sound. So for clarity,
Yeah.
like it's a bit of a nitpick, but for clarity, it should be like I tweaked it so that you see the raven as it is cawing, and then it flies off.
Well, my note here is that she can see sound and she's a witch.
Ah, yes. Or maybe she's something more, but we'll get back to that later.
Foreshadowing.
And then my next thing here, he opened it and closed it as he entered, which again made an echoing slam. And this is Michael opening a door like to go into a new section of the ordnance works. And so I tweaked it because it didn't really sit well. That sentence didn't sit well with me, so I redid it. Once they passed it, Michael closed the door, and once again, it made an echoing slam. Just to kind of like give a little bit more, like, so you're not saying like he opened it and closed it as he entered. Like it's okay. And it's like, what is it, and who is this? Next thing here, he ran down the hall, gasping for breath. He heard a short scream, lasting for only a second, then heard nothing. The creature's eyes shone through the darkness and turned towards him. He screamed and sprinted down the hall. So I feel like the last sentence here should be more like he screamed and continued sprinting further down the hall, because at no point did he really like, does it say that he stopped? He's just like running and turning his head, I guess, to look down the hall, sees the eyes, and then he continues running as he screams.
Yeah.
Unless we have like a little bit later in the sentence, like he stopped as he heard the scream, looked back and saw the things, screamed himself, and then continued running, or like started up running again.
Yeah, you don't need to keep repeating the same thing that he's already doing.
Yeah. And then the next one here. As he ran, he saw a door on the side of the hallway. Michael gasped and ran ahead. He stopped quickly at it, locked. He looked to his left and saw the eyes getting closer and closer. He screamed again and frantically turned the knob back and forth. Click, the door opened. But it was locked. Like, if you're going to go this route in the narrative, maybe describe the door as like stuck shut or like jammed. Not specifically locked, because that denotes like you need a key to or a lockpick to open it. Not, or even like maybe if Michael just like rammed the door.
It's possible he was just like, he's paranoid because he's running away from this monster. So if you are running away from a monster and you see a door, you grab the handle and it doesn't turn, your first assumption is that it's locked. So that's why it says locked. But with no other option, what else do? You still try opening that in your fruitlessly try to open it. Yeah.
And again, like, maybe have it like initially it was locked, but then like say at the end, like fortunately for him, it was not locked. It was just simply jammed.
Yeah.
Or though it was so rusted that it broke. Or you could even have that like it was locked, so he just rammed the door and like basically broke it, like busted it open.
Yeah.
Like with his shoulder.
That's another option too, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, reading that sentence again, just got this part. It was like, as he ran, he saw the door on the side of the hallway. Michael gasped and got jump scared by a door on the side of the road on the side of the hall.
Yep.
And then because it's weird because like and ran ahead, and then he stopped quickly at it. So it's like it feels like why did he gasp at this door on the side of the hallway, but then keep running like it almost sounds like he's running past it, like and like only checks it when he gets closer. Maybe it should have had that he ran towards it.
Yeah. Because otherwise, it's not acknowledging he's going in that direction.
Yeah. And then my next one here, there it was. He yelped, and no, that's not. So that sounded like he was like, there it was. He yelped. No,
yeah, it kind of sounded like that. Actually,
it sounded like that's not what it was though. It's there it was. He yelped and turned around to see its red eyes gazing down on him. He screamed, "No!" as the silent creature leapt over the table at him. Afterwards, when it was time to leave, Zach, Ben, Josh, and Ashley met outside in the snow and asked each other if they'd seen Michael or Kaylee. So the first part there, like as the creature's leaping over the table, it then cuts to another paragraph where it's afterwards, when it was time to leave, blah, blah, blah. I feel like there should be a horizontal line to like break up these two sequences in the story, because it's a switch of perspective and character and scene, like location, and even like time to a degree in this part. So like suddenly we flash to sometime later at another location with new characters.
Yeah.
Like immediately, because it's a little bit jarring otherwise.
Or like the line is good. I always like lines. Another option though, if you don't want to do a line, is have the leading word be something that makes it very clear that this is a new location. Because if it's like right now, it's just time based, right? Like it says like later, afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
like afterwards
could be also afterwards inside with Michael.
Yeah, it's like afterwards when it was time to leave. Like it could have easily, like rather than say Zach Ben and Ella, it could have said Michael and Kaylee walked out of the factory in a daze, or like bloodied as they had slain the Mothman.
Totally.
Or maybe they were or they could be under the thrall of the Mothman, so they're acting kind of weird as they go and meet up with Zach, Ben, and Josh. And then it's like, oh, you guys should come up to the top floor where we went. It was wonderful.
Totally. But if you have it be outside, then immediately it's like, okay, well, you're not inside the building anymore. Then if it's outside, Zach, Ben, Josh, and Ashley met, waiting for, asking to see if they've seen Michael or Kaylee, like right away, you know exactly where you are, who's there. Like you're not with Michael and Kaylee anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then my next one here. Also in the sentence, when it says that as the silent creature leapt over the table, it's LEPT, and I think it's supposed to be LEAPT.
I suppose that makes sense because leap has an A.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is my grammar acquisition. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right. I don't have a grammar inquisition, but I do have a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It shone to reveal a humanoid creature with glossy feathers. Its feet were scaly and green, with long black talons that seemed to dig into the ground. Its shoulders were about 1 foot taller than its head, and were tipped with long, black wings. And its head, it seemed to push down into its chest, and it had 2 huge red eyes, as big as dinner plates, with no pupils, and no light, yet they still seemed to glow. Its mouth appeared to be either missing or covered by feathers, It unfolded its wings and charged at them. But Haley wouldn't budge. It flew as though it were broken. It flew directly over the kids and flew over the kids' heads. It was a drop of blood. It flew up into the sky, and it hasn't been seen since. Then.
Okay.
My God.
Wow. My God.
The creature
It
can
was
turn
a blood
into just a drop of blood, apparently.
Yeah. So 3 things here. First off, I like how you're basically describing what I'm going to say later. I'm basically going to describe, like, I'm basically going to reference the description of the creature in my own. I'm basically going to be rereading the same thing. Secondly, I like that the creature, it's just a drop of blood. Is just like the way it comes down, it's flying unevenly, flies over the kids, drops down, and then flies. It was a drop of blood, and then it flies back up into the sky. It makes it sound like the drop of blood, almost like a certain water droplet that me and Gamer are aware of that attempted to assassinate his eyeball when we were in high school. So for all else not in the know, so like everybody except for me and Gamer,
everyone.
When we were in high school, we went on lunch break to like the local Zayres. It's like a small walk away from the school, and it was lightly raining. So Gamer had his ball cap on and like sunglasses or like glasses or sunglasses. I can't remember which one they were.
They're normal glasses.
But yeah, you had glasses on and a build hat on. And it wasn't like torrentially raining, so it was just like a light spit. So we were just kind of walking normally, casually talking and stuff. And I just remember like we got about halfway to Zayres and you just like took a step back and like gah as something had like pegged you in the eye. And it was a raindrop that had like trench run past the bill of your hat, around your sunglasses, and then just like fired its proton torpedoes directly into your eye.
Somehow, miraculously, yes.
Yeah, or just like kamikazed right into your eyeball with its water droplet. And it was just like, how did that story like became infamous with our group because of like just what are the odds?
And how is it possible? Not just the odds. How is it physically possible?
Yeah, exactly. So I like to think that that raindrop is actually the forefather of this blood drop.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
like the raindrop evolved into this because it hit me in the eye, which hurt and took some of my blood, and then it went off to injure some other poor kid until like decades later. At this point, then all of a sudden it's only blood.
Yeah, like. Yeah, and honestly, I could see like to make this kind of a bit gameable. I could see using Night's Black Agents, which has a toolkit in it for making your own like vampires to throw at your players.
Mm.
Yeah, I could see like making this like tiny little like water droplet, like blood droplet, like a weird microscopic vampire creature that like is killing people by like basically just headshotting them. And like everybody's like thinking it's a bullet or something like that. Like they can't find it's like the magic bullet, but it's actually just a sentient blood droplet that is just like going around, or like it's an organism that is like a water elemental from like the sky, but it's gotten a taste for blood after that one attack from on some teen in high school, and has slowly become a blood elemental basically. Because that's what you can do in Night's Black Agents. It's the same kind of system as like Esoterrorist Gamer that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So it's like the gumshoe system, and you're basically, instead of like agents for an organization hunting down wannabe magicians who are trying to like rip open the world of reality into like a dangerous area like reality so that magic exists, you are basically like Liam Neeson from Taken or like Jason Bourne against a vampire conspiracy of some kind.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what I got from this story with the blood droplet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the third thing was also I like how your rundown of the story does not fuck around. Like we don't get any of the like build up to like the kids being in high school or something. I know they're just attacked by the Mothman. Like there's no like its, ands, or buts at the beginning of the sentences until they encounter the Mothman in the ordnance factory. So, and yeah,
But that's actually kind of usually how it is, to be honest, because like you fall into these writing traps when you're doing more like faster paced stuff.
yeah,
Because I would think, because there's less time to think about what you're doing. Because it's like, oh yeah, I want him to do this and that and that, so he does this and it does that and it does that.
yeah. You get more excited,
Yeah,
more caught up in the moment.
yeah. The reason Mikey actually does these strings of sentences is because he's highlighting all those sentences in a story that start with its, ands, or buts and other words that sentences probably shouldn't start with, because there's always better words.
Indeed. And with that, move on to Gamer.
Oh, well, only got one left because I only had two for this one. Everybody jumped when the door made a loud echoing slam that seemed to echo for hours. So for me, this might be a nitpick. I feel like hours is a bit too specific, because like
Yeah,
it's entirely possible
I know. Yeah,
that
Yeah.
they could be there for hours in this story. So did they actually hear this loud echoing for
It's just-
actual hours?
that would drive me insane. If I was like in this like large like abandoned factory and all I could hear was just this like echoing slamming sound, echoing like reverberating, like that would drive a human insane with their eardrums, or their eardrums would be bleeding.
No doubt. Because like
That's where the blood drop was. Mothman was actually carrying them away from safety from the factory. Like they were
Right.
actually in grave danger of having their brains like pop out of their skulls. The Mothman grabbed them both and like pulled them out of the factory as like the reverberation was continuing in like basically recursive like feedback loop. And so the blood that drips on the kids outside, they were in a safer area, but the other kids were in like the danger zone. Because they slammed again, remember? Like so, it's like doubling up on the slamming. So the blood drop is actually just from the kids' ears, like what was like leaking out of their ears from like the initial like exposure to the feedback loop of the sound.
seems legit to me.
So the Mothman's actually a good guy, probably part of the SNTF.
Oh, of course,
we're being honest.
Yeah. And they only hire the best of the best of the cryptids out there to help humanity.
Yeah.
That's what.
With honors.
In case someone's not aware, the SNTF is the Supernatural Task Force, which is a silly/serious canonical thing that we've come up with, that all the creepypasta monsters that aren't jerks or
head canonical.
Yeah. That's what I say, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Trying to think of like ways that they can actually better the world instead of them being
basically like monsters. Like every time we explain that the monster is actually a good guy, they're actually working for the SNTF to like help humanity, not hindrance. And it's all misunderstandings, or it's like cover-ups.
Totally. Yeah. For this, I would switch it to something vague, like for ages, or even shorter, like for minutes.
Yeah.
Hours just seems a little.
I just think for ages, thousands of years ago, the echoing. I know, but it's just like that. Like, hey, if you can be critically silly, I can be critically silly.
I mean, that's fair enough.
On your thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's like just like thousands of years ago, the echoing started and has never stopped. Fortunately, the angel Mothman saved the children.
It's an angel now.
Yeah, well, like thousands of years from now, like when that story is being told, Mothman would definitely be seen as an angelic being because he's a winged creature. He saved children.
This is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for grammar.
Okay, then I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts here. So I'm going to start with this quote here. Every week, they would choose another cryptid to discuss and another member to research it. They quickly flew through the list of cryptids easily, from the Ahul to the Zanzibar leopard. Eventually, in December, they were at a loss of cryptids to research, until one member learned of another local legend, the Mothman. Wow. So, not to throw shade at these fictional high school, or is it high schoolers or middle schoolers?
They are middle schoolers.
Oh fuck. Okay, I have it in my notes of high schoolers. So not to throw shade at these fictional middle schoolers, that makes it even worse.
It does.
But you live in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. There is a goddamn statue, cafe, museum, and pizza named after the Mothman. He's kind of a big deal in your hometown. Like this is all. It's not like it's these like museums and these like statues and stuff like that aren't like small parts of town or on the outskirts. These are in the downtown core. Like your town celebrates the Mothman as a local legend.
Currently, it
since
does.
1966.
Currently, it does. But when does this take place?
Okay, like I thought it was like the 80s or 90s, like these, or maybe even the early aughts, like when these kids are like doing this.
I mean, it
Because
feels like
Mothman's
it,
only been
yeah.
around since the 60s. Mothman's have only been around since like 66.
Mhm.
So
And the only like tech related thing we have in here is a bus.
yeah, when did buses come out? Oh wait, why did we lose? What? I think we lost Mikey.
Do we stop or just keep going?
And we're back after some
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties. That's not the name of our podcast. Nope.
No, but that's
Yeah. You'll be happy to know, audience, that Mikey was not sent into a black hole along with the town he's living in, as we all feared when he dropped off the face of the internet.
that any sane person should, well, quote unquote sane person should assume, right?
There's certainly not a cover-up going on right now in that town.
No, not at all.
We were hit by the echo.
Yeah. Yes, the echo. Oh God. All right. So yeah, Gamer, I think you're trying to devil's advocate me as like when are these kids how long ago did this story take place? Like of these kids?
Did it take place before the Mothman was even a thing? But if that was the case, would there be this many other cryptids before the Mothman? Because Mothman seems pretty OG.
Yeah. Or specifically, like, would there be this many cryptids that high schoolers from a town in West Virginia would know about necessarily? If it was like, again, like you're I think you were trying to say like when were buses made? Because that's the most technological thing we found.
Yeah, 1915 was the first bus.
Yeah, so I don't know necessarily if like the Zanzibar leopard or the Ahul, which is from Java, the islands, not the coffee, as Gamer was asking earlier, would have been in the public eye of like some Americans. Yeah, I was kind of guessing that these kids are probably from like the 90s or like the early 2000s at best. Is what I was putting the story in. But it could have even been in the 80s and such.
Either way, the Mothman's a thing, and they should know.
Yeah, because I mean, the Mothman, like there was a pretty big craze that lives on today now with the Mothman and such. So, yeah, it was just
when I first read all that.
Yeah,
it was saying like bring up Ahul and the Zanzibar leopard. And the first thing I thought to myself after reading that whole sentence when they're saying like they finally came across the Mothman, like who the hell is Ahul and the Zanzibar leopard? They're popular, but the Mothman isn't.
Yeah, I knew what I knew of the Ahul like by name, and then I had to like look up what it was to refresh like what it looked like and stuff. I'm not familiar with the Zanzibar leopard as a cryptid as a relative cryptid aficionado. So that's a new one on me, but that's
all
cool.
out though. Like
that is a deep cut, sir.
Is it?
or madam?
Yeah.
The Zanzibar leopard. I'm guessing it's kind of like a Tasmanian tiger, where like they still like it's like an animal that's not supposed to be on the islands or like that place.
Yeah.
That is, or like went extinct, but now there's still sightings of it. Like that's what happened with the Tasmanian tiger. Is it went extinct in the early 20th century, and like there's still reports every so often of one somewhere in the wilds of Tasmania. So, but I digress. Also, going back to like the fact that these kids are in a cryptid club, I honestly thought that the cryptozoology club, which admittedly I wish my high school had, was founded because of the Mothman stuff in their town. To go back to like, the fact that these kids like don't know what the Mothman is initially. Like it's weird to me that they started a cryptozoology club not knowing the biggest, most famous local cryptid from their town ahead of time. It's kind of weird.
The way that it should have been worded, I say should have, but like I have the right to say this, but the way that I would prefer it being written is they started in this club. Everyone knows about the Mothman, but they were going through all the other ones, and the last one that they wanted to do and do a super deep dive on is the Mothman after they've already looked up all the ones that they didn't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to save Mothman for dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what I would have gotten from it. Yeah. But yeah. Especially when these kids are like doing deep cuts like the Ahul and the Zanzibar leopard.
Yeah.
No, who's Bigfoot? That's old news.
Mhm.
Loch Ness Monster, Nessie? Nah, fuck that. I'm literally like trying like searching my brain. It's like
Rake.
the rake's actually more of an internet thing, not that. These kids are from like that. Yeah, the chupacabra.
Oh yeah.
There's one. I could go on honestly. The Toronto sewer monster.
Yes.
That's a deep cut for Canadian. I didn't even really know about that until like a couple of years ago. So, but I digress yet again.
Yeah.
Back to the story and to my comments and quotes. Starting with continuing with this next quote. The building was dirty inside, with brick walls, broken machines here and there, and one shattered window, which was the only source of light in the dimly lit building. So these are the kids. These kids are going in December, like the middle of winter, into an abandoned munitions factory that has been, and they got permission to do a field trip with their teachers. Why did the principal allow a field trip to Urban Explorer in such a dangerous and dingy place? Like, this seems like unsupervised. This seems like a paperwork nightmare for that school. Like, and yeah, they are unsupervised, saved for the bus driver who's waiting out in the bus.
Yeah.
It's like, I know, like, I may not be, it may have been a hot couple of decades since I went to high school, but I'm pretty sure every field trip we went on, even in high school, we were specifically supervised by a chaperone or a teacher. Especially and we went to like gorges and like national park stuff and like museums and such. Even in a museum like the ROM, there was supervision going on. Like we were in the same room as one of the teachers at a given point. Or there's like, yeah, these kids are just urbexing across this like dangerous ancient munitions factory. At this point,
are they even high school? Like it says middle school.
Fuck. God damn it! I read over.
Wait,
I must have. Yeah, I thought it was high school.
It says his father passed away when he was 7. Then it says in his middle school he was in cryptozoology. And it starts talking about that in the leader in the group, 5 friends.
Okay, I apologize. I thought it was high school. Middle school?
Yeah, middle school.
Middle school?
Yep.
These kids got like permission to go on a field trip to this munitions plant unsupervised?
When they're grade 7 or 8.
I'm gonna have to talk to Adam from RPX about the school systems in America.
But maybe the principal's like, "Oh, it's for the Mothman, of course."
Yeah,
we all love the Mothman.
Yeah, the school is definitely not being funded by the tourism board of Point Pleasant, and like the Mothman being our mascot.
We're totally not going to have the bus driver like videotape this so we can add this to like
the found footage document. It's like, yeah, God. Yeah, no, this is like ridiculous. like, so I was under the impression it was high school. This is middle school. This is even more so bullshit. I'm calling it. Again, though, I still like. Also, in middle school, I wish we had a cryptozoology club.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, that's rad as hell. All right, Jesus Christ. So one thing I actually bring up to this, to make it gameable, Little Fears or Monster and Other Childish Things. 100%. Like, these kids are what, 7, 10? About that age?
I don't think they're that tall. Oh, age.
So like, yeah, Little Fears, where you can play as like basically like 6 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And you're basically like living out like a childhood horror movie like Goonies or Monster Squad or a Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark sort of like scenario. 100% this story would be perfect fodder for a scenario where you're part of the cryptozoology club of your middle school. You've been allowed to go on a field trip to the ordnance factory outside of town
For nominal reasons.
Yeah, for reasons. Maybe the bus driver's a cousin or something like that, so he's also going to be the chaperone. I'd obviously have a chaperone with the characters, and then it's up for the characters
gets killed,
or immediately have the characters attempt to shake the character off. Like,
oh yeah,
that's the thing. Like they
or Cartman and Butters when they're all at the when they're on the field trip to the Pioneer Village and they skip out to go to Super Fun Time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just like, the hell.
The fuck, dude. The fuck.
Dude, the fuck. Yeah, no, like, obviously, like, that's 100% that. And then, like, for Monster and Other Childish Things, I keep wanting to say Monster of the Week because the same, or very similar titles.
Yes.
Monster of the Week might work as well because you can, in the new expansion for it, Tome of Mysteries, you can they do have some ground rules you can set up for the option of playing a Monster of the Week game as children or as teens, like Kids on Bikes sort of thing, like Stranger Things. But and even like Kids on Bikes, which is another RPG that where you play as kids, like or young teens, in like a small town and stuff like that.
Assuming there's amazing bicycle rules in that.
I mean, it's more of just a genre. Like that's what the title's insinuating.
I'm disappointed.
But yeah, if you're playing as like Monster and Other Childish Things, where you're monster kids, so you already have a monster. So that would be a perfect in on like your cryptozoology club. Like the reason why all the kids in the cryptozoology club are in the cryptozoology club is because they all have a cryptid as a friend. So it's like sort of like a niche friend, like a friend group and club that they've started because they're monsters. And then they go to the ordnance place to go look for the big bad Mothman, who seems to be much more of a predator in this one than he has been in any of the sightings and stuff like that. Like in the sightings and stuff like that, he just flies over people and spooks them. Or like just flies around like nearby. He doesn't actually like. I don't think anybody's gone missing as a result of the Mothman.
I mean, we don't technically know what he did.
I mean,
we don't.
There was we don't, and yet but there's insinuation that he like straight up just geeked. Ashley, was it Ashley or is it
Kaylee?
Yeah, Kaylee and Michael. Like Kaylee like screamed, and then her scream was cut short, and then Michael he no, and then like it left over him, and then we cut away to the other people, and then it flies over them, and blood is on its talons as it drips down on the kids below.
Yeah, I mean, for all you know, it left the warehouse by breaking through a window, and it cut itself on the way out because it was scared from Michael screaming at him, so he ran away.
Maybe,
probably not. But
no, I think it's insinuated that like both Michael and Kaylee died, were eaten or killed by the Mothman. But yeah, like that kind of thing. Again, like you have it Monster of the Week, Monster of the Childish Things, Little Fears, Kids on Bikes, that kind of genre of kid adventures where you're playing as like middle schoolers and dealing with the supernatural or horror aspect. Like 100%, that's my thing for this. And that's just something I just came up with off the fly. Like I was just like, while we were talking about the cryptozoology club, I was like, why didn't I put notes down for a gameable thing on this? But moving on to my next thing here, this is kind of a beef I have with the story, specifically with the description of the Mothman itself. So, the two huge red lights seemed to glow. My response initially when I read that was like, I mean, that's what lights do.
Wow.
They tend to glow. And then it continued on into the next bit here. So this is the next quote that I mentioned earlier. I'm basically just repeating what Mikey did for their conjunction junction. Michael's arm twitched as he slowly raised the flashlight to the lights. It shone to reveal a humanoid creature with glossy feathers. Its feet were scaly and green with long black talons that seemed to dig into the ground. Its shoulders were about 1 foot taller than its head and were tipped with long black wings. And its head, it seemed to be pushed down into its chest. And it had 2 huge red eyes, as big as dinner plates, with no pupils and no light. Yet they still seemed to glow. Its mouth appeared to be either missing or covered by feathers. Okay, so that's actually a really good thing that the story is doing by describing the details that have always been brought up when mentioning when describing the Mothman from original sightings and stuff like that. Like this is basically like how people describe the Mothman, incorporating except for the eyes, not the details specifically. Like that's spot on. Like they are always seen as these giant red orbs that glow, but it's the way they glow without light. Again, like from earlier, it's like it seemed to the 2 huge red lights seem to glow. Like it's saying that it's saying it's glowing earlier, but then with no light, it glowed. Now, in the second part here, the reason why that's not glowing is, or the reason why there's no light, but it seems to glow, could be that like the eyes are kind of like how nocturnal animals have like that red spot when you shine a light on it. But then earlier, it was like it was shining red light on like down with a glow. So it says like the 2 huge red lights seem to glow.
Well, that just might mean if you put a flashlight on a cat in the dark, it's in the distance,
or if you're looking at a cat in the dark,
his eyes will seem to glow, but they're not actually glowing. They're glowing.
Yeah, that's. Okay, you know, that's fair. Like, I'm now thinking on it again. The kids had flashlights in the dark room, and even if they didn't have it shine directly at the Mothman's eyes, the eyes would still be showing up in the darkness.
Yeah.
Much like how, like, when you see a cat or a nocturnal animal out in the darkness, even if you don't have your flashlight shined on it, you'll see the eyes first.
Yeah, also,
okay.
Dinner plate sized? How big is the freaking Mothman, dude?
Oh, no, yeah, that's how they describe it. Like, the Mothman's, like, bigger than a person in most cases, and it's just like basically its head. It doesn't really. A lot of the times the people don't even describe it as having a head. It's just like in its chest area. There are just these giant red dinner plate eyes, almost like. And it's also one of the reasons why a lot of I know that. Well, it's a big animal. It's a big creature. It's
3 times the size of a bear.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of people have described it like a lot of the theories of the Mothman is that it's actually a giant mutant owl. Like a massive owl, because it doesn't have a head like people, or its head seems to be really close to its like chest area, kind of like how an owl's silhouette is in some cases. So, yeah.
Owlman doesn't sound as cool though.
What?
Owlman doesn't sound as cool. So I went with Mothman.
I mean, there is an Owlman cryptid in England.
Oh, sorry to insult the Owlman cryptid.
Yeah, hang on. The Owlman, I think it's from England. I remember it's in one of my my Mysteries of the Unexplained cryptid books I have on my shelf. Yeah, the Cornwall Owlman from England. Yeah, and it's basically the Mothman, but an owl. But it's more directly like described as an owl.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Moving on to my last note for actual thoughts. So the kids are all meeting up at the like all the surviving kids are meeting up at the bus and stuff like that, and like wondering where Michael and Kaylee are, and like asking if they'd seen Michael and Kaylee. Nobody had, so they sighed, puffed out clouds of warm air, and kicked their feet off of the ground, and began flying. For it turned out they were in fact a group of mothkin hiding among the human populace.
My God.
Yeah, I just like. So yeah, the actual sentence for the story stops at them like kicking their feet off the ground, And then I added in and begin flying because that's immediately what I thought was going to happen. Like when they said, because I get what they're saying is like they're describing like they're basically like kicking their feet, like just kicking their feet in the dirt. I'm guessing is what they meant, or like maybe turning around to like look at the like go find Michael and Kaylee. But the way it's described, the way it initially comes off to me, it's just like they just kicked their feet off the ground. Puffed out clouds of warm air and began flying because they were in fact Mothmen.
Yeah, honestly, the kicking your feet off the ground almost sounds like they're dancing. Like they're happy.
Could even be like, yeah, well, because they're from the Ordnance. They're at the Ordnance factory.
Yeah.
So they're just like they're foot loose.
Yeah. But maybe the alternate title for this is Mothman or Dance.
Ooh.
Nice. Mothman or Dance.
That's the
Kevin Bacon.
What happened. You either have the Mothman attack or you dance.
Yeah,
that's what happened to the kids.
That's the ritual. That's in my Monster of the Week game or like any of the games. That's going to be one of the ways of countering the Mothman is that you have to do a dance-off ritual.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, one of the characters, the NPC. The bus driver might be Kevin Bacon. Wow.
We have the best.
But yeah, that's
ever.
Yeah, the best worst. Yep.
Burst.
But that is my actual thought. It's just like the end of my actual thoughts. I'm ending on a silly note of just they're Mothmen, the kids in the Cryptid Zoology Club.
Yep.
They lured their friends Michael and Kaylee out into the Ordnance factory so that their buddy could have a snack. Maybe their patron god or their like the creature that sired them is like whose waits out there and like lets them like go into human populations to like lure new victims in so that he doesn't have to do all the work of hunting.
It was a pretty long con because they did research on every other cryptid.
Well, that was Michael and Kaylee's idea. The other one is like, yeah, sure, let's do that. This is gonna take forever. Like, Dad's gonna be really hungry by December. Like we started this in August, September.
That's why the Mothman didn't fuck around. Like,
finally, he really did not. He really did not fuck around in this story. I was actually kind of. Was anybody else surprised by that? That like
I don't really know enough about the Mothman to know one way or another.
I mean, no, like Mothman generally will not like again, like in any of the stories and stuff. He just flies over people, or like just like flies around, so he doesn't attack.
Like, and I know like he's not super aggressive. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like memorializing him as some dude that's cool.
I mean, he's cool, but he's also enigmatic, so like nobody knows if he's bad or good.
Yeah.
I think there was actually on BuzzFeed Unsolved when they went to Point Pleasant and they got a story from the Mothman. So one of the people I don't know if I'm remembering this right. Somebody described like a story to them of like a Mothman trying to steal somebody's baby.
Okay.
So maybe he is more of a predator, like an owl-like predator creature. Yeah. I digress. Mikey, your actual thoughts.
All right. So when they get the Ordnance factory,
or dance.
Yes. They walked through the large main room, dragging their feet as they walked. Are they zombies?
I mean, clearly they don't want to be there at all.
Okay.
It's not like they're in a cryptozoology like club.
Yeah.
And they came here because of their huge enjoyment of cryptids and researching them.
I know it's not like they're. Why are they? Yeah. Also, a bit more of a thing for Monster of the Week or Monster and Other Childish Things. You take the weird kid abilities, and they're all zombie kids. As part of the rather than have monster friends, they are the monsters. No, John, you are the demons.
Mothman versus zombies. Mothman versus
My
zombies.
God, why is that not a sci-fi movie?
Yeah.
But sorry, Mikey.
My next actual thought, uh, I have the quote here. They crept down the hallway, which was pitch black aside from the flashlight. And then later, when the Mothman appears, he just starts running down the hallway. There's no mention of using the flashlight to see where he's going.
Yeah.
They're just running into the dark. Yeah, that's never good.
Panicking, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what would have been cool is if, like, he ran down the hallway, turned a corner, and there was another set of eyes.
Ooh.
That
Yeah.
would be cool.
Like either the Mothman's Jason Voorheesing it around, like just teleporting,
Yeah.
or there's more than one Mothman. There's Mothmen. Mothkin, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
Moth folk. It's a moth fam.
Yeah, there's the huge one that are like dinner plate eyes, and then these are like tea serving plate
Hang on,
eyes.
I got yeah. Sorry, I had to Google what the plural group of moths are for this. So it's an eclipse of Mothmen.
That's pretty sick.
That is fucking awesome. That's what they call a group of moths, an eclipse of moths.
And they show up only during a certain phase, so it's like an eclipse phase.
Oh shit! Wow. Yeah, no, I definitely with you there, Mikey. Though, like having him turn the corner in the darkness, and then just seeing another set of eyes, or having the same set of eyes like pop up down the corridor he's running towards. It just like would ump the ante on like, oh shit,
For sure.
you fucked.
So yeah, he would totally be running into walls and shit. He doesn't know where he's going.
Or tripping on like the detritus of this place. Like, yeah, maybe even falling through a floor, like because you're not looking. Because again, this place is like. So I've been assuming this is either in the 80s or 90s. This factory, even back in the 60s, was old because it was an abandoned munitions plant from World War II.
Yeah.
So like it was probably decommissioned in like the 40s.
Yeah.
Like the late 40s. So yeah, that's a long time for concrete and metal even to sit and just not just to sit out in the elements. So
Yeah. So, like, the whole running in pitch blackness.
Yeah.
And there's no mention of what he's doing with his flashlight.
I guess it's just assumed, but
yeah,
I hate that.
That's what they're doing.
So I'm with you there 100%.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of with you as well. Like I can assume and not be angered by that, but I get you. Like it would be better to have a detail in this instance.
Yeah. And then my last actual thought here is that the falling of the blood.
Blood.
It didn't have that much of an impact on me because it could have just been raspberry jam.
Sure.
Like that's or because the Mothman invited Michael and Kylie to scones.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. The Mothman's was actually on his lunch break from the SNTF.
Yeah. He
had was enjoying some scones out in his sector of the world.
Yeah. I mean, he hates being interrupted. That's why he got angry. But then after the rage went down, he's like, all right, you know what? You guys are here. You guys are just kids. You want something to eat before you go?
Yeah.
Because we're doing a lot of running around. Wear yourself out.
And then he got a message on his pager. And that's why that's why he flew off.
Yep. Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, for me, that would have had more of an impact if instead of blood, he dropped their disembodied heads.
Honestly, I was kind of hoping for more than just blood, just like blood droplets. Like it should have been like, or like heard them
arm or leg.
Yeah, like an arm or leg, or even like heard them screaming amidst him, like he's carrying them off somewhere, like at the end of Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah,
Bloody
it's
chicken
something
too.
to up the creep factor, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or like
Yeah.
the drop of blood. That's got like they're like, huh, what's this? Like it's on the palm of their hands, and then just something like a thud from up on the bus, and there's like a body part or like a whole body, like just brutalized on the top of the bus where it dropped.
Like a decapitated body. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like
I mean,
agree
they
with
are
you
middle schoolers now that I think about it. It's
yeah,
like
it's weird, right?
But like as it is right now, it is kind of tasteful. But like maybe just something a little bit more, but not too bad.
Yeah. What I felt in regards to the blood drop, I also wasn't really taken back by it. Be like, oh, because we basically know what happened because it's left to assume that Mothman's already killed both of them, and we saw we quote unquote saw quote unquote exactly how that happened. So there's no twist. We know they died.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't see them get like gutted, or like we just hear like a screen get cut short, and then it cuts away as the creature leaps onto Michael, and then it cuts to the kids. And it's like, so yeah, you're left to assume. And I honestly like that way's good. Like that, those are often good ways to assume, like to leave things to be assumed because like it's tasteful. But yeah, the like the blood droplets, like to me, it was just like, okay, yeah, that just kind of confirms it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. And gamer.
All right, for me, let's see. So my first note is we've already talked about it a little bit, but I'll just glance over it. The fact that they're allowed to go on a field trip by themselves, and they basically bribed the principal. By the way, you didn't bring that up.
Yeah, they saved their savings basically. Like
using all the group's funds, they convinced the principal to give them a field trip. So they straight up bribed them.
That's why they didn't get a chaperone. It's all under the table from the principal. Also, again, that principal is corrupt as fuck.
Yeah, they're out on a freaking shadow trip instead of a shadow run. Shadow trip.
Yeah, shadow trip. Well, now we're going to run this in Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey.
Yep, of course. But yeah, at that point,
your character. Hang on. Your character, the Shadowrunners, are the bus driver, and then like the guys that the principal has hired to watch over them from a distance, or like from the shadows, like make sure these kids don't go get attacked by anything.
Yeah,
because they're going out into like a really like sketchy part where like some supposed cryptid has been sighted.
The kids are like, we can't have any chaperones, and the principal's like, yeah, okay, fine, no chaperones, winking with both eyes.
And the kids. And like the reason why, like, so they bribed him in the Shadowrun game. They've also got some blackmail on the principal. Like that's why the principal's even going along with that.
Oh shit!
Like, yeah, like he's had an affair or something. They found that out or something like that because they're probably like some Decker kids.
Yeah.
that they hacked into his private accounts. and so this principal's like
called to like some Shadowrunners like, I need you to. How do you guys feel about offing some kids?
Okay, I wasn't gonna go there. I was like literally like the kid, like the principal's just like he's in like this tight spot. He's not gonna kill the kids, but he's in this tight spot where like he's got to let these kids do this field trip because they're asshole like brat kids that have like are bribing him, but also like blackmailing him with this like stuff. But he needs to make sure that they're okay because they're going to a very dangerous location, so that he gets Shadowrunners. Honestly, this could be really fun. Just playing like basically, it's kind of like Home Alone, but if Marv and Harry were there to like watch Kevin.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, and it just I kind of think that would be really fun.
That seemed kind of weird and fun.
Yep.
But moving on. Michael opened a door for them to go through. Atop a set of rusty stairs, though Joshua insisted that they go through another door just underneath the stairs. Ashley insisted yet another door. Zach, fed up with the bickering, suggested that they split up into groups. Zach went with Joshua, Ashley went with Ben, Michael went with Kaylee. They agreed to meet at the bus if anything went wrong. Because I read that, I'm like, who do these kids think they are? The players of One Last Die? Our tabletop role-playing sister podcast where we seem to always split the group to varying results of success.
Wow, that was an awesome plug. Thank you.
You're welcome. We do seem to do that a lot. Does it annoy you when we do that, by the way?
No, not at all. In fact, I encourage splitting the party.
Okay.
It's easy. It's easier to kill you that way.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Thought I heard something. Anyways, so then we get to the part where the Mothman shows up, and she was cut off by the sound of the door slamming. They quickly scraping. They heard low scraping steps coming closer, and but it's all dark, so they can't see, even though he has a flashlight in his hand at this point. And realistically, in the shock of hearing a loud noise behind you when you're already using the flashlight to see where you're going, you would spin around and point the flashlight at it instinctively, right?
Necessarily. There's definitely been some times where I've heard like a sound and I've been like hesitant to like shine a light. I'll turn the light off so that it can't see me.
Yeah, but like on quickly spinning around, like that's an instinct
maybe
like
not all the time, but
with your flashlight.
You're not wrong, but like it's not every time. It's not like, yeah.
And then like they stared in horror and silence as the steps became louder and louder. Then again, I have another note. You have a flashlight. You can see what it is. Then two dim red lights appeared down the hall. Kaylee wanted to ask what they were, but her throat seemed to swell shut. You could see it if you had a flashlight, though.
I think you are underestimating the gripping power of fear. Like you don't act rationally when you're afraid or like even freaked out, like in these kind of situations.
Yes, I agree with you. However, I didn't get the whole problem with this, and the reason that I'm keeping like hammering home the fact that they have a flashlight, they can see it, is I didn't get the fear. It didn't hit as hard as it should have been hitting.
Yeah, that's true. They should have like up to it, because like we do get kind of some is like Ashley gets spooked by a freaking raven jump scare. So like we should have had more of that right before they went into the dark spaces and stuff like that and encountered the Mothman. Like had them that they were kind of on edge by the place, like while they were in there.
Mm-hmm. But even when he showed up, like I only really clued in 100% the level of fear that they were at the start of the next paragraph, when he says like he shakily tries to like raise his flashlight. Because again, the whole time I would assume that you would be pointing the flashlight at it, being like wondering what it is, because you wouldn't immediately assume it's a monster. Like you have friends in the area, they may have come in and like made a loud noise behind you or something, or like a wild animal or something.
I mean, to that point, I've told the coyote story before 100 times on the show.
Okay.
We had flashlights on that trip, and as soon as I heard like snapping sounds near like next to us, like on the trail, I looked over, but I did not shine my flashlight at it. I just looked over and just saw eyes, and I was not raising my flashlight at those eyes.
Okay, then I have not been in that situation myself, so I will.
I mean, you might be different. Well, no. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like it's not always 100% what you think it is. Like in that situation, like you might be different. You might have shown your light at the coyotes, and maybe they would have just been scared off, or maybe they would have attacked. I don't know how coyotes would react to like having their eyes flashbanged by a flashlight.
Pretty much. Yeah. Back to this though.
Yes.
The whole reason that this whole scene wasn't described very well to me is because of how it's saying they quickly spun around and stuff. To me personally, if it was they quickly looked over their shoulder, then that would make more sense, because their body would still be facing the other direction where the flashlight is, but you're just quickly looking over your shoulder. So right away, okay, you're not looking at it. But then if it says they quickly looked over their shoulder, and then they stared in horror and silence, unable to move, like deer in the headlights situation, then it's like, okay, so he's frozen in fear. He can't put the flashlight on him. I had to get to the next paragraph to get the feeling that he's frozen in fear and he's actually having to struggle to lift the flashlight up.
That's true.
But I'll move on from that now. And then the attack happens and he's running away and all that. I kind of wish he was like calling out for help, or the others were hearing this happening. Like this entire thing is so focused on the two that are attacked by the Mothman, the other characters didn't do anything.
No, they probably they meet Michael and Kaylee die, like they have their encounter and die, and then we cut to the other kids who've come back to the ordinance or come back to the bus like to reconvene. I'm guessing time has passed, and like, but what did they find? Like, we should at least have something where it's like they didn't find anything. They just like were getting cold and weren't seeing anything interesting, so they just decided to head back to the bus.
Yeah, like there's all these characters, and there's only 2 of them that are used.
Yeah,
the other characters did nothing.
I mean, granted, I love that we got everybody's name in this story.
I'm like,
really? I mean, like at the same time, like I guess I mean.
I'm fine with them not having names, but them having names doesn't matter when they're cardboard cutouts that do nothing.
That's fair, yeah.
The same story would have happened if it was just the 2 characters that died. Like, and it just ended with the bus driver.
And the bus driver's just like,
where are they?
At that point, it wouldn't even be a bus because there would only be 2 people, so it's just the Uber driver or the taxi the cab driver. Or the chaperone who's just the driver for them.
Pretty much, yeah. And yeah, like in regards to the building and everything, all of them were in the building checking the place out, and the building was reportedly by them loud enough to have an echo that lasted for hours. So what do you think would happen with screams?
Yeah,
like clanking and smashing and stuff. They would hear it. So I wish there was some connection to like during the escape, he could hear his friends like running around and calling out to him. Like just something as simple as that. We don't need to cut to them. Just reference them. They're there.
They're there somewhere.
Yeah.
in that massive expanse of a building, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, apparently, because he closes that one door. Apparently, when he closed that door, airtight, like soundproof.
Oh yeah, the entire room
section,
that they're in. Yeah,
the entire wing that they're in, because it's not just one room; it was like a whole wing.
Yeah,
like right, because there was hallways he was running through. He didn't open a door to go through the hallway again. They just like went to like one section of the building. But that as soon as they closed that one door, yeah, soundproof.
Yeah, they're clearly in the section where they test the dynamite. So it's soundproof, so it doesn't like scare everyone that's already working on making dynamite and stuff, right?
Yeah, clearly.
Totally, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, everyone knows about the soundproof rooms of when they're testing the chemical reactions of TNT.
Yeah, everyone does. Duh.
Yeah, it's the spot where like there's the conveyor belt and like Daffy Duck is just like smashing or like tinging the tip of the artillery shells.
Yeah.
And testing which one's a dud.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, Looney Tunes. But I'll move on.
Yep.
So 2 kids died. Yeah. The principal is so fucked. Was the $50 worth it? It couldn't have been more than that from a bunch of like 7 or 8 graders, right?
Yeah, legitimately. Like, what were the funds for the cryptozoology club?
Mm-hmm.
Like $20, $50.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna be generous and say 100, but like, yeah, $50 is probably more reasonable. Like that's probably like what they got for like doing like a door-to-door like candy like chocolate bar sales or something.
Yeah, like allowance and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably like allowances or like lawn mowing gigs.
Mm.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that principal is so fucked. And honestly, like if when I run that Shadowrun game, that's exactly like I'm gonna have a collateral damage like table for like whenever like you guys lose a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's getting deducted from your points, but it's all like it's getting deducted from your pay, like your final pay. But it's also like how much in trouble is that? How fucked is that principal? Like that's literally gonna be the name of the chart. How fucked is the principal?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yep.
And then my last one is like when it flies over the kids and like drops the blood and everything, and then it says flew up into the sky and hasn't been seen since. Mothman, Ben mumbled, cometh. That's how you react to seeing this happen?
Yeah.
It's not the most natural of a title drop.
It's the weirdest one I've ever heard, to be frank.
Yeah. It's strange.
Mothman cometh.
Yeah, of course Ben would say that. That's such a Ben.
Ben's
right?
Ben's
so
clearly a drama. Ben's clearly a Shakespearean drama class like major, like
Yeah.
in middle school. Because the thing about the Mothman Cometh like as a title, like it's probably I'm just throwing it out there. It's probably a reference to the Iceman Cometh, which is a play from like a very popular play from like the 30s that has like been like popped up like here and there, and like we've actually had a couple of creepypastas that are titled like something man cometh, like Slender Man Cometh.
Yeah.
And I thought we had one that was like the Iceman Cometh, but apparently it was just called the Iceman.
Mm-hmm.
So
either way,
yeah, but like the whole like Ben just like mumbling, "Man cometh," like what?
like I would be okay with it if he had character and it was described that he's big into drama and all that stuff. Then fine, there's a connection. Like,
sorry,
why?
I'm sorry not to cut you off. The fact that the way you said drama, it's like drama. Medea, Nevada, drama. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. It's just like the way you said it. Like I got like I had to like suppress a chuckle.
It's fine. I'm not as dramatical as some people. I can't say drama.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's fine. But it was weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the end of my notes.
All right. Well, actually, as a good segue into our final thoughts, I'm going to start with the end bit here. So, like, yeah, you said like Ben's like mumbling, "Mothman cometh," and then the last line of the story is, "Where is it now? Please, dear reader, don't think about it too much." But that's the point of our whole show.
Yeah,
is to think harder on things. That's also the point of most stories, is for the reader to think on the story in some capacity.
It's also making it seem like the Mothman wrote this story, because it's like,
actually,
but don't worry about it. It's fine. You know
what I think it's supposed to try and like emulate there is like, where is it now? You may not want to think about it because it could be in your own town or near your home. Ooh, it's gonna get you next, kind of thing. But it doesn't really come off that way to me. It comes off more as like, don't think about the story too much. It's only like 3 pages long.
Wow.
And honestly, like, yeah, that's why I'm going to still give it just a partial recommendation, teetering on like not recommending it at all.
It being kid didn't affect that.
What?
It being children instead of young adults didn't change that rating.
No, I mean, like, I like the core idea of the story, like kids on bikes or kids on buses. Mm-hmm. That's my name. That's gonna be my RPG title: Kids on Buses. Mm-hmm. Field trip horror, supernatural field trip horror with the SNTF. Shit, I might actually have to fucking do that.
You're making an entire campaign off of this.
It honestly could be a campaign of like Monster and Other Childish Things, where it literally is an SNTF like school program, mm-hmm. Where they take kids on field trips with their monster friends to fight off monsters. Like, and that's like the cover is that they're going on field trips.
Yes.
Yeah, like the core idea, the core premise of the story, like kids going and finding the creature and being attacked by it. I like it. It's good fodder for a story and for game scenario stuff. But this story specifically needs way more to me. Like certain aspects of it also just didn't sit well. Like the reason why the plot is progressing, like they bribed their principal to get them to go there without a chaperone aside from the bus driver. That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. It's just a nightmare. Like for like I can like that principal's so fucked. That school is fucked. There's things in the story that I just needed more details. I wanted more like writing to like properly flesh things out. Honestly, that's my biggest thing, is like why I kind of partially recommend it, but although on the other hand I can't even recommend it, is because the story needs more refinement. So more articulation and more refinement, more details, more meat on them bones.
From the sounds of it, what you're saying is the story that's here you don't recommend, but the potential of the story you're partially recommending.
Absolutely, okay. Yes. So, yeah. Mikey, you're up.
All right, let's see here. We got the pitch black hallway that can easily be run down. We have the lack of parental supervision on a field trip.
Yeah.
And we have the ending that just sort of ends.
Stops.
Cometh. Yeah. It just goes away. Mothman kills 2 kids and then flies away. Where?
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Top men. Mothman, that is.
My God.
Yeah.
Or should it be, sorry, not okay. Should it be Mothman?
Nice.
Yeah. And thinking about it, if this wasn't a field trip and was in fact a bunch of kids going on a bike ride to an abandoned building,
Would
that
have been better.
would have gotten rid of that whole principal situation and school situation and supervision situation.
Yeah, because it's after hours. It's not even like extracurricular stuff. It is them on their time dying, not on the school's dime at all.
That would make it so much better, honestly.
It would honestly, this should, rather than kids on buses, it should be kids on bikes.
Yeah.
Like legitimate, like mount up bicycles. They bike the 7 mile or the several miles out of town.
Here's the easier way
to the ordinance.
Just make it so they live closer to it. They don't have to live miles and miles away.
Well,
yeah, but I mean, like, it's also not that hard to like bike a couple of miles out of town.
Yeah, 7 miles isn't that much for a kid anyway.
I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, legitimately, like, if it had actually been like literally kids on bikes, would have been a better like means of progression for the plot than if the fact that they had to bribe their principal to give them a bus for this to put it on put it in the paperwork as a field trip, thus incriminating the principal for this really sketchy situation. All in all. Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, I'm not going to recommend this.
All right, that is fair. And Gamer.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to be parroting that. Like, Mothman's cool and everything. He's jacked as hell. But this is like,
in that ass.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but yeah. But seems like kind of a poor showing for him. I lost my immersion before they even went on their journey, honestly, which kind of made all the flaws that much easier to pick out because I was already not enjoying myself.
Yeah.
It's because, like, again, they were able to go there unsupervised because they bribed the principal. Like, hell?
God, such a weird, like, I don't think I don't want to say that the author's like a child, but it kind of comes off as that kind of writing where it's like where a child or like a young kid, like in middle school or high school, like early high school, might write that as like oh well, we bribed the principal to give us this field trip out to the ordnance factory, like, but without any chaperones, because like we want to do I want to kill off these characters, so they can't have an adult nearby.
We've been hard on this and everything, but
yeah.
We're looking at what it is and how readable of a story it is and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And if something is completely pulling me out of the story, I gotta bring it up. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat things.
Yeah, like we may be a little bit brutally honest, but at the same, like we are being critical about the story. Mm-hmm. Like, we are trying to, like, because again, like I said, like, I partially recommend it because I can see the potential here.
Mm-hmm.
But the story as it is falling flat of that potential for me.
Yeah, and for me, like, having a whole bunch of characters was completely unnecessary because only 2 of them were utilized. The whole event was about Michael and Kaylee. That's it. The other characters didn't do anything. They didn't have any personality, unless you want to count in Ben's little bit of drama personality at the end.
Drama. I wasn't going to keep that in. I was going to leave that as an outro, but I guess it's now in. It's staying in, apparently.
Well, that's fine. I've said stuff like that before. I don't care.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
Nevada. Sorry.
Basically
I
all the other
apologize.
kids did was see Mothman fly away. That's
Yeah.
pretty much the whole thing they did. But this isn't a first-person story. Like, the narrator could have told us the same thing.
Yeah,
Just like
100%.
they go in there and die, and then Mothman flies away as like a drip of blood lands on their bike handles or something like that. You know,
Like as they get as Michael and Kaylee get killed, it's just like it's that sort of thing. It's like, well, looks like the cryptozoology club's going to need a new Timmy.
Yeah.
Like sort of like that, like dark humor, like sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like the whole thing goes on, and in the end, the kids didn't even tell someone what happened. Like, it didn't cut to them explaining themselves to the principal or having any repercussions show up. So the kids seeing the event and quote unquote seeing what happened to their friends didn't do anything. And also, they didn't even go check to see if their friends are okay. They just
because they didn't hear them. They went to that soundproof area.
Okay, but what did they leave without them?
It ends before we get to like where the bus driver actually talks and like, hey, what happened to you? What happened to two of you? Like, what was that? Why is there blood on your hand? I should probably call the cops and then, or maybe the principal first to cover up something.
It doesn't
I don't
even
know.
need to go into that much detail. Like, it could just cut there and be like, just say like they waited for a bit, but their friends didn't show up. The bus driver went in, and the bodies of Michael and Kaylee were found, and I don't know.
But gamer, please, dear reader, don't think about it too much.
That's true. I have to not think about it too much. You're right.
Yeah.
You see, what's not said is that there was the bus driver was the supervisor, and he used the buddy system. So each of the kids had a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he checked to see, he's like, "You got your buddy?" Yep, everyone's got their buddy. Time to leave.
It doesn't matter that the entire set of buddies is gone. As long as everyone has a buddy, you're good to go. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, overall, it's still a no for me. Going over our notes didn't change that one way or another. It has a lot of flaws. Breaks the immersion right away. There's no explanation of how things are happening. And yeah, it could use a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely use a lot more. Honestly, yeah, like I think that's basically a round table opinion on this one, is it just needed more. We were all Disney princesses today.
Yeah.
We must have more.
I mean, in a way, because the immersion got killed for me so early, in a way, when I was reading it, I'm kind of like, I wish this had less so I'd be done quicker. Like, as mean as that is, because it's just like, I was so checked out.
Yeah.
I hate being checked out.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to agree with you, but I was excited for this story, guys. Like, I was, because it was Mothman. I'm going to go check out the Mothman like museum and stuff like that when I go to West Virginia as of this story being posted. I'll probably be either there or like in the few days, like around this, when this gets posted, I'll be over there. Yep. But so I was excited. And again, like, I've known about the Mothman since I was like really young. I've read a bunch of stuff on it. I've watched the movie. I need to rewatch that movie because I was like 12 when I saw that movie, and I do not like grasp it. I feel like I would appreciate it way more now. It's just like, this was kind of disappointing as somebody who's like really into the Mothman. Like, the potential was there, but like the story itself, like the execution was not there.
Yeah, I think the hype kind of killed it a bit, because like, you and I you've been mainly talking to me about it. I haven't been talking to you about it, but you've been telling me about the Mothman on and off for years. So like, I've kind of known about it a lot, and
I've been talking at you.
Yeah, pretty much, because I don't know anything about it. You know the things.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first one we've done, isn't it?
Yeah, this is actually much like when we did the Cowman of Copeland Beach. Like, that was our first like Bigfoot story. I think this is probably our first Mothman creepypasta.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see if there's more out there, because I mean, the Mothman is, since its first sightings in 1966, it's become it's one of the it's got to be the top 5 most popular cryptids, like ranked up there with like Bigfoot and Nessie.
Yeah, I feel like there should be more stories of this than like of Bigfoot. Bigfoot's just like something
No.
weird that shows up and that's about it. But
Here's the thing: Mothman's localized.
Yeah, I guess.
Bigfoot is global. Like,
true.
yeah. Like Bigfoot comes in many names and forms across the globe. In North America alone, he's got like 3 or 4 different iterations. Like we got Bigfoot, we got the Sasquatch, we got the skunk ape, and like
Yeti's
half a dozen other names. I know there's a Bigfoot creature in Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
In Missouri, I think he's called I think they're called howlers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a metric. Hell, few hours north of us in a town called Cobalt, there's a Bigfoot named Yellow Crop because he's got blonde tips.
He's got frosted tips from like the 2000s.
He's a Guy Fieri. It's just a hairy Guy Fieri.
Wow.
But like that one throws rocks at people's houses, like big rocks at people's houses.
Oh shit.
So he's like an angry Guy Fieri. He's the anti Guy Fieri. Because as far as I know, like Guy Fieri's a really happy guy, so he's like an angry Guy Fieri.
Nice.
But yeah, like again, like he comes in different forms. He's all over the place. He's in all the woods and all the mountains. Wherever there's mountains, where there's deep forest, there's likely a story or a legend, or somebody's come up with some kind of an encounter with a big, hairy, ape-like like humanoid. So like that's why like he's definitely top of the list. And then like all the other ones are kind of more localized. Like Nessie's like Loch Ness monster, like Loch Ness in Scotland. Mothman, the Point Pleasant area in West Virginia. But like yeah, so well, I really went on a tirade there. I apologize.
It's cool. It's Mothman. I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey's at the stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long.
It's gotta be.
Yep. And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky cryptids. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. I love that that's our motto now, honestly. It's really grown on me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, is this gonna work? And I just like saying it, like you creep it, you'll peep it, yeah. And then like we both yeah at the same time.
Yeah, I think our enthusiasm for how dumbly awesome it is works.
Yeah, it's like yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. For our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely because you're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your stories that you write and post out there for people to look at, enjoy, and perhaps, be very critically critiquing of it on a certain podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We really wouldn't have, not naming any names, RPX.
Nice.
We really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So honestly, there's potential in this story. And we've said it before, even the stories that we don't like or that we find kind of lacking, we still find something in it, or there's something there's good that does come out of it. Our conversation and our opinions on our feelings on it, that's what we're here for, and is to talk, read the story and talk about its contents. So regardless of if we don't like it or not, thank you for writing it and sharing it online, having that courage. So until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.